Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. This is one of my quick check-ins type readings to look at the energies around a particular astrological transit that's coming up. So in a few days time from when this will be published, we will be having the full moon in Aries in October, on October the 20th. And I'm looking at some energies around that. Again, I'm indebted to Roland Legrand, a astrologer who has a YouTube channel called Ablis Roland Legrand, and his really interesting and insightful overview of this particular transit coming up that he recently published on his channel. So I highly recommend checking his channel out and that particular video if you want more detail about this particular transit. He goes into it for about 30 minutes or a little bit longer than that, so it goes into a lot of what follows from it and so forth. So as usual, when I'm borrowing from his insights to be inspired for a particular type of reading, I'm going to very much summarize some of the key points he said that I think are important to this reading. So they are really about choice. His overarching message at the beginning of the reading, the beginning of the video that he did and across the board of him looking at the astrological energies, is that with the moon in Aries, so Aries is all about action, and with it widely opposite the Mars in Libra, and also the Sun is also in Libra, so widely opposite those at the same time. There is the possibility with the emotion coming from the moon that you might make decisions rather precipitously and from an emotional basis rather than necessarily testing out what the longer term impacts might be, what the rational decision might be, and so forth. And this is particularly the case because Chiron is connected in strongly to the moon at this time. So there's things around your actual well-being. It could be physical well-being, it could be financial, it could be emotional. It's something to do with healing and well-being energy. And within a few days of the full moon, the moon will also then be aspecting or becoming conjunct with the North Node and then also with Black Moon Lilith. And that's literally the 23rd and the 24th of October. The North Node, which is the first of the two, is something to do with the life path and the direction we're heading in. And then Black Moon Lilith on the 24th is about something that we maybe don't see, something that's hidden from us, something we don't like to look at. So those energies are very strongly constellated together around the capacity to maybe make a decision before fully considering it. So, and he was saying because of other transits that are happening, in particular some of the outer planets, longer term transits, this particular decision, whatever it is, might have some very significant long-term implications for you. So it's important to almost take that step back, be patient and consider it. So what I want to do with this reading is I want to look at the area in your life that this might be impacting, and particularly picking up the Black Moon Lilith aspect coming up only a few days after the full moon itself, looking at whether this is an area of shadow or light, so using the Oracle of Shadows and Light to help look at that, and then tarot to get a little bit more detail about that. And then presuming that that resonates, and I would definitely say with this reading, if that doesn't resonate as an area where you have a decision that might have an emotional impact on you, something that you may need to transform, leave behind or build, then possibly check out another reading, because that first part of the reading is about making sure that you are at the right reading for the sort of advice that we're looking at, because then I'm going to ask you to think about what that question might be, a sort of yes-no decision, and we're going to have a look with tarot and with other oracles around the implications of the yes and no. Not necessarily in any way to say make the choice based on this, it's more what are the energies Spirit is suggesting you consider when you're making that choice? Because as Roland said at the beginning of his particular video, it's not that the full moon date is probably not the date to make the decision. It's the date to start thinking about that and really trying to not just act on emotion and just wanting to get something done or just wanting to change something, but to really consider the longer term implications. So with that explanation about what we are doing with this particular reading, as is always the case when I do the quick check-in readings, they're quicker than my average, so they're probably 10 to 15 minutes long, so I'll move through this quite quickly. And as such, I have 4 different readings to choose from. Pile 1 or reading 1 has the root chakra placement stone. Pile 2 has the solar plexus, pile 3 has the heart chakra, and pile 4 has the throat chakra. That doesn't mean those chakra energies are what these readings are going to be about. They're just chakra energies that I think are important for major decisions that we make in our lives, and so I would think those energies would be across all the readings. But I put them there in case something in that chakra energy or the colour helps you choose a pile. You may have different other ways of choosing a pile, whatever works for you. Or more than one reading, if you are drawn to more than one. It may help you work out which is the key issue we're talking about, or there might be more than one key issue that you need to decide upon, or you might feel rushed to make a decision on October the 20th or thereabouts. So you go where you feel drawn, and when you do know which pile or piles that is, then the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So to start off, we're looking at the Oracle of Shadows and Light card that I mentioned in the introduction, and then some tarot to get a sense about what is this area of decision making, transformation, change, whatever it might be, letting out the old, bringing in the new, whatever energy is there for you around this full moon. And this has something either to do with how you come across to the world, either authentically or whatever masks you may feel that you need to wear in the world, and what impact that has on your sense of self. Or it may be around a relationship, either with a romantic partner who you're not sure if they're quite what they appear to be, or it may be relationships around friends where there appears to be something that is which is questioning whether or not you are fully getting to be yourself around these people or around this relationship, or whether you're having to dim your light, dim your sun here reversed to be able to connect, because there's some form, particularly if it's around friends here with the Three of Cups effectively reversed, it may suggest some sort of competition or some sort of gossip or some sort of issue around friendship connections that you have. Certainly the moon is strong here because the moon's come up connected to the High Priestess, but with the High Priestess reversed, that certainly suggests that you are going to hear something or you are going to learn something, probably either at the full moon or even in the days leading up to the full moon, or you may already have heard it depending upon when you're listening to this, and you may have a sense of something being not what it appears, because Marie Masquerade is based a bit on Marie Antoinette. It's all about glamour, it's all about intrigue, drama, gossip, all of those sorts of things. And it does suggest to me that either for some time you've had to put on a glamorous front in some way, or live up to some sort of appearance-based or style-based or fashion-based type of relationship or friendship or social circle or even career. But this feels more, hang on, sorry, I'll just get that phone. I'm so sorry about that, pile 1. I think that it was just a cold call of some sort, but it's gone now, if you heard that phone and I had to interrupt then. So, as I was saying, there's something around the area of glamour, intrigue, fashion, social activity, something like that, where you are going to hear something with the High Priestess reverse. Something is going to become revealed to you, something that was hidden. It's interesting, it has very much that sense of the Black Moon Lilith that I was saying that comes up on the 24th of October. So it may even be that it takes that long to really get to the heart of whatever this is, to really understand what information you're getting. But it just feels to me as though you need to make some decisions about either a relationship, and it could with some be a relatively new emotional relationship, and whether this is really helping you or not. And it could be with this. It could go either way, because this could be suggesting, if this is the case, if it resonates to you, that this is around a relationship where there's a lot of intrigue, a lot of drama, maybe a lot of jealousy from others, that it could be a very good relationship with the Magician there, one that is very strongly connected, great communication, all that sort of thing. But if that's the case, it's drawing a lot of envy and a lot of intrigue and a lot of gossip. Or it could be that it's a relationship where you're needing to determine is what appears to be a great communication and a great connection really what it is, and what are you sacrificing potentially for that? Are you able to truly be yourself? Because Marie up there does have that sense of wearing a mask or being in a masquerade, being in something that is not clear, and it has a sense of beauty around it, but is that beauty real? Is it what it appears to be? So I feel for pile 1 that this is a very emotional situation, which of course puts the whole thing around the moon making decisions on an emotional rather than rational level on steroids for you to some extent. The good news is with the Magician there, you have a very keen mind and you are able to step back and look at something as a whole. You are able to look at all the constituent elements of it. And particularly once you get this information, some of you may get the information psychically, actually. And if you do, if you get in a psychic instinct, trust it, because there is something there that is meant to be coming out so that you can determine what to do. I do feel it is around either a romantic relationship or the friendships around you. And it is around what is the balance of what you get from them compared to maybe what you're needing to suppress in yourself, or how you need to fit into something in some way. So presuming that makes sense to you, presuming you can understand that and see that in your life, pile 1, what I'd like you to do now, while I shuffle another tarot pack, is think about a question. What do you think the question would be? Make it a yes-no type of answer in broad terms. So for example, if it was around a relationship and you weren't sure about whether or not the value of the relationship was enough given what kind of pushback you either might get from others or jealousy you might get from others, or even whether you felt that your own capacity to be seen and shine in some way is held back by it. So that's just an example, but the question around that would probably be, is this relationship one that I should continue in? But it just depends what you relate to this. So please think now while I shuffle for a little bit longer about what your yes no is, because we're going to put down 3 cards for yes and 3 cards for no, and it's going to be about what you should consider in whether or not you go yes and no, not whether you should go yes and no. Okay, so I'm using the Lucine tarot deck. It's a new tarot deck that I got recently. It's recently been released. That is all about the moon, which is why I thought it was a really good one to be looking at these 2 things. The only issue with it's extremely beautiful is it can be a little bit hard to read what these cards are. So I'll let you know. Firstly, over here on yes, we have the 2 of Pentacles in reverse. We have the 9 of Cups in reverse, and we have the Knight of Cups in reverse. On the no answer, we have the 5 of Cups, we have the Devil, and we have the Queen of Pentacles. So over on yes, the considerations around this that you need to take into account, if you're going yes, for instance, this relationship is the right one, or yes, these friendships are okay, or yes, I should be moving away from the friendships, whatever it might be. The things to consider here are that your current situation at the moment has got you caught in the material outcomes of something, and it's making it hard for you to make that decision. It's like there is a material impact on that decision for you with the 2 of Pentacles reversed. You do have the choice, but I feel like you think a lot of the choice is out of your hands in some way. I feel like you feel that it's going to have a big impact on you, but maybe you can't really choose it. And with the 9 of Cups reversed, you have a sense that whatever you might do, if you go yes with this, whatever you might choose in that space, you are going to lose some joy. The question for you, I think, will be partly, is that joy real? Or does it come at too high a price? Is it something that's authentic and connected, or is it something where you've had to suppress yourself in some way? And with the Knight of Cups reversed, it does suggest that for most of you, this is around some form of romantic relationship or the whole thing of romance in some way. So it could be picking up people whose friends have too much influence on who you're with. Like their opinions and who fits in with the social group and everything could be far too important to this, for instance. So part of answering yes or no to whatever your core question is to work out, why do you feel that the choice is somewhat out of your hands? Why do you feel that there's something that's impermanent or not real about the situation that you're in, particularly emotionally. And why do you feel that there is a sacrifice associated with it, and particularly with saying yes? That doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't say yes, but the things to consider are, why do you feel you almost don't have the choice, and why do you feel that there's an emotional sacrifice involved in it? Over here on no, the things to think about with the Five of Cups, the Devil, as I said, and the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles suggests that you are more in control of this decision than you're giving yourself credit for when you think about yes. When you think about no, for some reason you feel more in control. So part of the thing to ask yourself is, why is that? Why do I feel more stable and more that I am master or mistress of my domain, so to speak, when I think no? What is it about the no answer that makes you feel more powerful, but at the same time makes you feel a little bit brokenhearted with the Five of Cups, a little bit like an emotional thing has not really worked out for you? And potentially, are you too trapped in some way by the situation? And in saying no, are you somehow giving in, or are you somehow binding yourself up in some way that you, on one level, seem to be making yourself feel more powerful that you can make the decision? But in making the decision, why do you feel that you're inevitably trapped in some form of emotional disappointment? So those are the things to consider. And this very much says to me that this feels like yes is a leap of faith, and a leap of faith where you're not really feeling courageous about it, or you're not feeling like, if you go in this particular direction, whatever this question is, like, can you be sure of anything? And will you be able to bring it into being? Whereas no feels like, yes, it's kind of what you're used to. Like, even if it doesn't feel great, it's what you're used to, and you feel like you've made a more definitive decision. Now, the point about this reading is that that's not saying one is better than the other. It's saying these are the emotional impacts that are occurring across these two things. So I want to have a look at, for each one, the feelings that you will have around either yes or no. So we'll just pull one card for each of those to see the feelings around the choices. So around the yes choice, and around the no. Okay, so the good news for you is, once you make the choice, and remember, don't rush into it, if you do decide yes, there's the passionate love sort of sense there. So this feels like a question about, should I go into a relationship or should I trust a relationship? And in the yes, it's like you're feeling like you're kind of throwing it all up in the air and hoping for the other to meet you. And it looks as though the feeling you have around that comes from passion and love. Over here, the decision to say no, where maybe you stand in your own power, but you're hostage to your own disappointment, for instance, you're nevertheless grateful about the abundance around you. So it's interesting because, as I say, the Pentacles energy over here, the material energy, doesn't feel like it's in your control, but for some reason over here in the no answer, it does. But you are focusing on the material outcome over here with the no, and the love outcome over here on the yes. So that doesn't tell you, again, it's not this. The purpose of this is not to tell you which to choose. It's just to bring up the energies to consider over this period of time. So I'm also going to use the Heart Code Oracles and the deck that's about well-being, because you'll remember that the video that I discussed, what Roland Legrand talked about, part of it was around well-being in general. So let me just pull a card for well-being around each of these two choices. So that says nature, if it's hard to read. And that says pause. Okay, so this, I feel like yes is the one that your love nature, your emotional nature wants to go with. I feel like if anything, you're drawn more to the yes. It's just that you always get a bit stuck and you pause yourself around what is good for you or isn't good for you, what is pragmatic, what is sensible. To me, it feels like you feel like no is the sensible choice to make, the rational choice to make, but your heart is in the yes for some reason. All this really says is understanding that part of your well-being is about understanding your nature and the impact of your nature on this decision. And that if you're just automatically deferring to no, if that's your first instinct, to pause, to wait, to let that consider, why is that the case? Why is it that feeling, that sense of I am in control of the choice, but I'm a little bit heartbroken in whatever form this is more your default in how you tend to decide compared to what your passionate nature is, if that makes sense. So we're also going to ask another deck that is effectively a tarot deck, but it is also a sigil deck. So I feel like it's more like a sort of higher level sort of oracle. So we're just going to sort of see another energy around each of those choices for you. Okay, so this does give a little bit of a hint, I think. I think something about this decision that you're making to say yes is to go into very new terrain. I think terrain that you're not as comfortable necessarily in because you don't know yet what the patterns and the mores of that terrain are. You're not really sure about how do I act in this environment. I'm really comfortable over here in all the decisions when I've gone no to certain things. I'm really comfortable around the friends, even if they're not allowing me to be fully me. I'm comfortable around that. I understand that social milieu. I understand this environment, but I'm being drawn towards something emotionally that is a catalyst for change. So yes is about change and about something new. No, with the Queen of Pentacles, is about harvest. It's about what you reap from what you've done. So there's some fundamental shift related to this question where to go in one direction is to sort of throw in with something very new, but to go in the other direction, it is to maybe turn your back on that to some degree, but to harvest whatever it is that you have at the moment. So I think we go back to Marie Masquerade. We go back to what is this glamour and this intrigue and this drama? Is this something that ultimately is working for you? Is it something that you ultimately enjoy and feel comfortable in? Or is it something which you just feel like I've put so much into this that I don't want to go off doing something new or off with someone new. I really want to try and get the harvest related to this. Even if it's a bit of a bitter harvest potentially, I still want to get what my effort has been on some level. So it's got something to do with that. It's got to do with a choice about the new versus getting something out of the old, even if the old is no longer really pleasurable to you. It's still like, I want to have achieved something. And again, there's nothing wrong with either choice. It's just understanding what triggers are going with you on each of those. So let's have a look at the last cards that were under the Chakra Placement Stones. So we're firstly going to, and this is across the whole thing, this is not about the choice between the two. First going to look at a Soul Trees piece of advice for you. Duality. Okay, so this is also going to Marie Masquerade. There is maybe something about you, Pile One, where you almost are two people in one and you almost live two lives in one. And this is really a choice about this. And I think one of the things that this card is asking is it even the right question you're asking in a way? Is it an either or is it how do you actually combine the two? Like I'm getting that maybe the question is the wrong question. Yeah, if you whatever question you had, it may be that in fact it's not as simple as a yes, no. It could be that you can combine both until you have time. And this might be the thing about waiting. This might be don't rush into a decision because in a sense you can almost balance the two until you get a sense. And that way you don't lose out on what the no would mean if you didn't, if you went yes, but equally you don't close the door on the catalyst for something new. So I also pulled a card for what signs might be around to help you know that you're on the right track when you're starting to veer towards one or other decision. And we've got time. So again, it just might be saying you won't know until there's time passed. There's something, particularly remember with the High Priestess reverse, there's something that's got to come out. There's something you've got to hear about to help. So time on its own might be necessary. But there's also maybe saying that time in some way is a sign for you. You might be one of those people who sees 11:11 on a clock, for instance, or 3:33 or something like that, something that looks like angel numbers in some way, time. Or it may be that you put a particular time frame on the decision. This is how you deal with this. You give yourself a time frame. So to finish off, I'm going to also put out 3 Astro Chakra cards because I find this a good way to finish off these quick check-ins, just to look at the other energies, the chakra energy and astrology energy around that might help you make the decision. Okay. So we have the 4th chakra, heart chakra, the 6th chakra, which is the 3rd eye, and the 5th chakra, which is the throat chakra. So this again suggests to me that this is about love primarily. I do think it's about love for friends, love for a new partner, love for the social world and networks that you're in, something that's connecting to your heart. But it's very important that you use communication in it, and that's picking up the energy that was around the Magician. And don't underestimate your capacity to do that. As long as you accept yourself, and there is something here, like, are you accepting yourself, and what are you taking as the input to your self-image? Is it taking it too much for others when you should be taking it more from yourself? Self-acceptance helps you to communicate. Jumping over to communication, we have the moon, so it's your emotions and being able to voice your feelings. I do think once you hear this piece of information that High Priestess reverses about, it will be easier for you to make this decision and easier for you to be able to communicate why. But you'll also need to use your intuition, and again, that's picking up the High Priestess. You're probably very psychic. You probably do pick up things intuitively, and there's a lot of wisdom in there. And so once you start to get those feelings, search within that. Search within your intuition to find out what the energies were about the yes-no choice. So this is really, I think, in a relationship or friendships or something like that. And I do think it's about moving towards greater authenticity, but for some reason it's also about retaining and keeping what you have built up so far. So I hope that that helps you with the decision. It's not to make the decision for you because, as I say, give it time, but I hope it helps articulate some of the underlying energies that are around this decision at this time for you. And if it does resonate, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear about in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So that's the Oracle of Shadows and Light card that I mentioned that was under the Chakra Placement Stone in the introduction. And these are some tarot cards to give us a bit of a sense about what is the issue, the area in your life where this decision is coming up, that this astrological energy suggests that you take time to contemplate and think through rather than rush into. Whatever this issue is for you, pile 2, has something to do with the past. It has some connection to the past. When you see the dried flower fairy, it is about a fairy that gives you this sort of sweet and nostalgic memories. Often comes when you've been through a difficult time. So I think many who've come to this reading have probably been going through some difficulty, and that difficulty is probably connected to whatever this decision is as well, I would think. But there's something about nostalgia, thinking about past relationships, past friendships, past workplaces, past schooling, whatever it might be, family, that is a solace and a comfort, and there is something from the past that is returning in some way, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, it could be anything. Card often comes up when, serendipitously you run into an old school friend, or somebody rings you up out of the blue, or a friend that you haven't spoken to for ages, or something like that. That is a trigger for whatever this decision is. And the thing about it for you is that you are coming out of a time where you felt alone. This is meant to signal to you that whatever has made you feel disconnected or separate from others, love, friendship, whatever it might be, is coming to an end. And this nostalgia, it might even be I'm getting for some dreams of the past. It may not be literally in the 3D. It might be that you dream quite a bit of the past, and it's a signal that this energy is coming in, and that some of what made you really happy in that is coming through. Like I'm literally seeing with the 8 of Wands here, like somebody having one of those dreams where you're flying in the air and you're flying over places that you've lived before or something like that. That's very specific, but I'm just seeing it really vividly. So I just want to mention that might be part of the signal of the decision that's coming up. Whatever the decision is, it comes from the fact that you are very generous. You've always been very generous. And this is one of the reasons why this energy is coming to you. It could be someone that you helped out who now returns the favor, the kind of pay it forward type of feeling around it. Or it may be that the generosity that you've always given to others is finally going to be returned to you in a very material way. So there's a connection from the past. So it could even be that you had a lifelong dream for a career and you didn't think that you could do it. You felt that you weren't able to marshal the resources, but for some reason there's like a benefactor or somebody coming through to give you that opportunity. And part of the reason that it's happening is because you've balanced your inner heart with the Page of Water, what you really love and what you really enjoy, with a pragmatism. Like the Fool is reversed here. So this is the sense. It is something coming round again. This is not you jumping, whatever this decision is, it's not you jumping into the complete unknown. It's more about the decision about whether to take up something that you maybe left behind before. A relationship, a dream. I think for many of you, this is a dream of some sort, an aspiration, an ambition of some sort, but it could also be a relationship. But there's a real energy to move forward with it. And with the Eight of Wands or Eight of Fire, there is, of course, given the caution around these astrological energies to not just sort of like jump into it immediately, but to really consider using what you've learnt to date about how to set it up in a way that is reciprocal, that is mutually generous and so forth. Because I do think that many of you may have given more than you received quite often, whether it's in work or friendships or whatever it might be. So that's the caution in here. It's not to jump in instantly, but to recognize this is a good energy coming in. It's just how you structure that energy to work for you. So if that rings a bell for you, then what I would like you to do while I shuffle a different tarot pack is think about a yes/no question around this. And what we're going to be doing is pulling 3 cards for the things to consider, the energies to consider in either yes or no. It's not going to be telling you which one you should choose. It's just telling you the things to consider around this particular issue. So think about your question. Okay, so this is the yes energy. And this is the no. Now this is a beautiful new tarot deck that I've got called the Lucine Tarot. It's based on the moon, the cycles of the moon, so I thought it was really appropriate for this. The only thing I would say on camera is it can be a little bit hard to read what the cards are. There are images, but I'll just tell you what each of the cards are. So here over in yes, we have the Tower, we have the Two of Cups reversed, and we have the Moon reversed. In no, we have the Nine of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the World reversed. So when you are thinking about yes as an answer, the energies that are around this, or the things to consider, yes will mean a major transformation to your life in some way with the Tower there. It is breaking down the old and bringing in the new. So even though this is something about the past returning in some way, it is in a wholly revolutionized, changed way. So if this was, for instance, a relationship coming back that hadn't worked, it is going to have a very different energy. But you may for a while, even if you went yes, be reserving your judgment around it, because the Two of Cups is reversed. So you're not yet sure at the point that you would say yes, whether this change is going to ultimately be something that you can accept emotionally. And with the Moon reversed, you have to wait till you get more information. So there is an indication you will. There's an indication that if you said yes and you stepped into the major change, you would get information, but it's not necessarily saying that that information will be something that you go, I'm really happy that I've said yes. It will just be that it will help to define something. It's like by saying yes to something, you find out more about it, but it is a big change. So there's almost a leap of faith energy around this. Over here on no, we have, as I say, the Nine of Pentacles. It suggests that if you say no, it almost feels like you go, no, I can be on my own. No, I don't need to collaborate with someone. No, I don't need a benefactor. I have established myself already. I am wise like the Fool reversed, etc. So no seems to be you standing on your own 2 feet rather than maybe merging with somebody or collaborating with somebody. It does appear to be a decision that you delay more than the other. Like this feels like you jump really quickly. This feels like it's a bit more delayed with the Hangman. And it may also mean that certain things that you could achieve if you took the leap of faith, will take longer to get there. But I think that you see that you don't want to sacrifice your independence, and you're not sure if you did sacrifice your independence, whether you could bring it to completion with the world reversed. So I think this is a very big thing, a very big career offer, a very big relationship. And it really is saying that at this point in time, you don't have the information really. So if you do go to yes quickly, you're doing it as a leap of faith, and then you will see and learn. If you go to no, then it may take longer time to really see that. And it may be that you don't fully realize everything you could have out of this because you've decided to do it on your own or be on your own. So let's have a look at some of the feelings. Some feelings around each of these things for yes and no. So for yes and for no. Okay, so interestingly enough, even though we've got the Tower, which is tumultuous and big change, you look like you're calm enough with the fact that you've taken that because you've got relieved. I'm calm and relaxed. So even amidst all of the change, it's like you're accepting that. That's okay. And even to some degree, you know that this is going to bring you information, and you're zen about the fact that it may or may not be information that makes you happy with that decision. I feel like there must be an escape clause around the yes, in the sense that you jump in and you try it, but you know that you've got the capacity to move away from if you need to. So I think there's a lot of pressure around it. I feel like there's a real sense that you could lose something if you didn't move quickly. So bear that in mind. Remember what the energy of the astrology is. Take the time that you need. Over here, if you say no, it's mysterious and you think there's more to me than what you see. Part of that is you backing yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if you go, no, I can do this on my own, and you may seem very mysterious to people. This might seem like an amazing offer or an amazing relationship, and people think, well, why are you saying no? But this has to do with you focusing on yourself. But I do think you also know there's a mystery as to whether or not you can fully bring to fruition something on your own in the way that something in collaboration may be brought about with the other person. So let's have a look at some energy around well-being, because remember Chiron's associated with this as well. Nurture. Good health. Okay, for a start, this is definitely saying that there isn't really, none of this is going to have a kind of physical impact on you, I think. Because over here in the yes, you're nurturing yourself potentially to stay calm, relieved. You know how to deal with the uncertainty of things. You have a very good system health-wise to deal with that. And you are nurturing maybe others in doing this and so forth as well. So there's a well-being for yourself and for others in saying yes. Over here in no, you have everything you need in terms of good health, which is what this says. It's a little bit hard to read it with the camera angle, but you are sustained. There is nothing, and that really very much fits with the Nine of Pentacles. You have if this is about something that's going to require stamina of you, in either case, you're going to be fine. If you are on your own, you have everything that you need. Your constitution is strong. And if you're working with someone else or merging with someone else in one way or another, then there's a nurturing energy. You have your cup overflows, I think, with health and well-being on that level. So that's good. We're not looking, particularly with the Tower energy, it's good to know that is there. It's not going to affect you physically. It's not going to affect your health. So let's also ask for another energetic piece of information for you for each option. Okay, so this is telling us something else about whatever the nature of this question is. So over here we have severance, and over here we have be here now. So there is something about this Tower energy that jumping into whatever this option that is yes means you are leaving something else behind, or you are severing something else. So whatever this is, it does cut off certain other possibilities. You seem to be relieved and relaxed about doing it, but it does require that. It requires a separation on some level. And it's an energy that's a little bit weighty, as you can see here. There's a lot of thought behind it, and I think that's dealing with the energy of the Tower. That's why it's good that there's good health around this. But it does, something about the yes requires a shift away from something very definitively. The no is about being more with yourself, I think. It's more be here now. It's like, I am who I am and I don't need to change as much. I am here now. I am present now. So this is about moving on from something. This is about staying put, I would say. So let's have a look at some of the other information that was under the chakra placement stone. So firstly, see what, and this is just in general, it's not about each of the choices. So it's just general energy to close off the reading. So firstly, see what the soul trees have to say. They say come together. So there is something in this energy about you standing on your own or being with others. This does suggest that in some way you need to connect with others. Even if your choice is no and to stand more on your own, you still need to retain those connections. And if you are severing certain connections moving forward, you need others. You need to be going towards others. So it is suggesting don't stand too much on your own, I would think. Then we pulled a card to look at what would be some signs from the universe that you are starting to come towards the right decision, whichever it is. And we have the third eye. So you're going to get psychic senses. There's probably quite a lot of telepathy associated with this too. So to pay attention to what seems to be coming to you, what's channeled to you. You may also see symbols like the eye symbol and so forth when you are coming to that point, or hear about telepathy or that side of things or that particular chakra. So that's just to give you a sense about when you know what you're doing. So the last thing I wanted to close out on for this reading was some astro chakra cards, just for some astrology and chakra energy to help you with the decision as well. Okay, this does suggest this is a very important thing for who you are, and it does pick up that energy up here around that you might have suffered. You might have been going through a lot. That might be why this major change feels like a relief, actually, why yes would just be shifting stuff and damn the consequences, almost like I just have to shift out of this position or this feeling that I'm in, and there's something to be said for that. But with two of the root chakra there, and with Mercury and Uranus, that's like having Mercury and Uranus connected, then that would, or conjunct, that suggests that there is something you need to communicate. There is something that you need to do around yourself and your individuality there. It's about authenticity and it's about your basic needs. What it certainly suggests is that you may have got used to looking after yourself and for yourself because you didn't get that reciprocal energy. But remember that I said I felt like reciprocal energy is coming in. If there is an opportunity and there's a yes, then it's definitely saying you need to be able to communicate your needs and what it is to be truly you if you are going to move into this, if the answer is going to be yes. The other thing to bear in mind in either case is where your creative energy is, where your fertility energy is in a very broad sense. And with Saturn there, with discipline, you are someone who takes a lot of responsibility for such stuff. And I think what it's kind of saying is bear in mind if you have a feeling that you want to go to yes just for the relief of it, that might be partly the weight of the survival instincts around the responsibility that sort of doing everything on your own has done. So it is worth thinking about, make sure you don't go out of the frying pan into the fire. Make sure that you don't go from, I've felt the weight of the world and I go into this and everything sort of breaks down and I sever a lot of things and then I find, I've just replicated it again. It really needs to be a different energy. So I think that's the core of what you need to really spend some time thinking about. What does this mean to you on a really base foundational level, and how you can grow and be true to yourself, but still feel the sense of responsibility that you always naturally feel, but not let that hold you back. So I hope that resonates for you. It's a very interesting energy. I hope it resonates for you and that it gives you some clues for what to do with this particular full moon. And I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you know what this is, be fascinated to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So that's the Oracle of Shadows and Light card that was under the Chakra Placement Stone that led you to this reading. And this is the first row of tarot cards to give us a sense about the area of your life that this decision might be in. Now, this is a somewhat paradoxical set of cards for the nature of this reading overall, because as I said in the introduction, the main energy and the main advice astrologically is to take time in making a decision. Don't rush into things. The paradoxical element for you is that this card, a clockwork pumpkin, is about a wonderful idea, the aha moment, and the main message of that card is to not procrastinate and to jump in when you have this moment, when you have this illumination. So I think what it's telling me is that you've already done the work, you've already thought it through, and it's mirrored here in the cards because we have the Six of Air or the Six of Swords reversed, and we have the 10 of Air or 10 of Swords. That suggests to me that you've been going through a lot of planning, a lot of thinking, a lot of considering. Whatever issue is on your mind about this and that comes into focus with the full moon, you had done the work already. So really in terms of this, when we're looking at the issues to consider for the yes, no, really go into think about those sort of pieces of advice against what you've already worked out about something, because it looks like you've been churning through something. It's a new idea, I think, for a new career or a new creative thing. It's maybe a new business idea with the Queen of Earth there. It's certainly something that could have real material outcomes, and I do hope you don't hear that sort of noise in the background. Somebody's obviously doing some drilling or something, so sorry if you are. I hope that's not too distracting. But going back to this, so the Queen of Earth is all about doing something that's material, so a business or becoming more secure and so forth. And with the Ace of Fire, there's a new idea, a new inspiration coming in. It's saying it twice here. And it's interesting actually too, because a clockwork pumpkin makes me think of Halloween too. So I feel like maybe the fullness of this will come at the end of the month, and you're going to really get the idea, and you need to have made the decision by, say, the end of the month to fit with Halloween. But that's a separate thing that I'm getting. But you've already done a lot of the work. And the key question around this is this idea something that you're truly going to love, that is truly going to be the next step in your creativity, in your love, in whatever it might be? It could be seeing and understanding someone is the one for you after really wondering and maybe suffering through relationships before and feeling like you didn't make the right decision, and you've got this sort of energy that's passionate. It could be about that. And if so, it's going to be a long-term relationship, I would say. But I think for most, this is a business or a career or a creativity type of thing. And it's just, you've really been doing a lot of mental work, really burning the candle at both ends, really to get to where you're going to be. So the decision will happen more quickly, but I just feel like it's maybe by about the end of the month that you should feel really comfortable with doing it, and you don't need to delay beyond that. So given that, if you resonate to the concept that you've been really thinking through something that may have a material or a business or a creative type of element, or even a relationship, but I do think in most cases it's more in the creative business area. If that relates to you, then can you, now as I'm shuffling this other deck, think of a yes-no question. And I'm going to put down 3 cards that are related to yes, and 3 cards that are related to no. So think about a question that relates to something here that makes sense to you, that resonates. And these cards will look at things to consider, not whether you should do yes or no, but things to consider that are energies around each choice. So if you think about what your question is now, please. A yes. And no. So this tarot pack is the Lucine Tarot. It's a very beautiful tarot that's related to the cycles of the moon, which is why I thought it would be good for this reading. And it is gorgeous with its imagery, but it can be a bit hard to read what the cards are. So I'll tell you what each are. So in the yes, we have Awaken, which is actually an additional card in this pack, and to me, it's all about having gone through the Fool's journey to the world and now being able to start the new cycle and so forth. So that very much connects to the concept that you've done the work already, particularly in planning and thinking something through. In yes, we also have the 7 of Cups, and we have the 2 of Wands. In no, we have the 10 of Wands, we have the Page of Pentacles, and we have the World. So the first thing I would say about the yes and no here is it is going to be sort of something you just need to consider for how much it excites you and how much it really, whatever this thing is, in terms of how you frame the question, because there's potentially good outcomes for both, and both reflect the work that you've done. Because if you think about it over here, we have awaken, as I say, it's that sort of the serpent swallowing its tail, it's the coming round to start something new again based on a real sense of journey and a real sense of having done the work, something that you can ground and make into something, and something that has quite a lot of possibilities with the Seven of Cups, but it's not fully formed yet what those possibilities might be. Like, you've thought through a lot, but there's still some things that are unknown. And maybe part of that is who you may work with or who you may connect with, or whether others will share your vision. So yes, the things that are impacting yes is having gone through all of this energy, seeing the possibilities of this and the connections you might make. Does yes feel right? Over here on no, there could be a sense that saying no makes you feel a bit exhausted, like you put a lot of energy into something that you're not taking forward. On the other hand, there is Page of Pentacles here, so it does suggest that there's still something that you can take from it. If you're not feeling, when you say no in the end, if you're saying it's not quite ready to be the Queen of Pentacles, it's still got something that you can work on with the Page of Pentacles, and it still can go the distance with the world. So this feels to me as though you were trying to decide whether something you've put a lot of work into, and with whatever this aha moment is, has kind of accelerated it, is ready to be really launched into the world, or whether only part of it is launched into the world. It doesn't feel like an either or, it feels like a difference in degree in some level. So I hope that that resonates for you. To help with, again, these decisions, firstly I want to have a look at what the feelings are around a yes or a no answer. Feeling around a yes and a feeling around a no. Okay, so the feelings aren't going to help you that much. You really are someone who really works it out in your head more than in your emotions. And in a way that's good, because as I say, what this astrological energy was saying is that you can sometimes just want to act emotionally when you have the moon in Aries. This tells me that you're not really someone, feelings are not what you'll first go to for making a decision. So you're less likely to be pushed by that. It's more likely to be the pragmatic things you've thought through and the sort of really material outcomes that are going to be around stuff. But either way, you're going to feel a little bit pressured, a little bit anxious. So if you go yes and you go all in, you need to remove any emotional blocks around it, because you just have to really commit. If you go no, you might feel a bit anxious, like, have I made the right decision? Am I slowing everything down in some way? Let's have a look at well-being, because Chiron is connected to this, and particularly since you are going to be feeling a little bit stressed either way, and you are the type that does actually, pile 3, you do worry about things, because you can imagine all sorts of things, much more than maybe the world is likely to sort of bring to you as a challenge. You can imagine. So given that, how do we look in terms of well-being with either of these choices? So disciplined is yes, and nourish is no. So that suggests that if you do decide yes on whatever this is, you go into a period of time where you're using a lot of energy, I would say, and you're very disciplined and very focused. I feel like that's okay. I feel like that energy is good. I think it's the way that you deal with the pressure, by really focusing and being disciplined. And that's got something to do with having got to awaken, having gone through the Fool's journey, having that sort of degree of maturity around the thing. If you say no, I think there is a need a bit to nourish yourself. It's almost like underneath you're a little bit disappointed in yourself or in the decision. If you've gone no, it may have been a good decision, so I'm not saying no is the wrong decision, but if it's the case, you need to nourish yourself and nourish what it is you're doing, because with the Page of Pentacles there's still something to be done and something to be made out of this. It's not, as I say, it's not an either or. So it's either a jumping full in and being disciplined and focused, or it's a nourishing the idea to give it time to develop, so that maybe later you could move over into yes. Let's also get some other spiritual advice for you around either option. Mental clarity on the yes, shut in on the no. So there is, yes fits your mental energy better, I'd have to say. It doesn't mean yes is the right decision. I'm not telling you to do yes. I'm just saying that it's the one that almost feels the most natural to you. It fits with your mental energy and with your discipline and your focus. It's very disciplined on a mental level. And so it almost feels like the default movement for you, and you will be clear about what you do, so you don't have to worry. Even with the Seven of Cups, which can sometimes be a little bit illusory or sometimes be hard to fully analyze, you have the mental clarity that you need for that. Over here you feel a bit shut in if you go no. I think it's just, as I say, the sense of diminished outcome or a longer term outcome versus the I'm going to jump in, it's ready, I'm just going to do it. And again, it doesn't say one is wrong. It just says that there are different energies around it that you need to balance and manage. So given that, as an overarching thing, there are also some cards that were also under the Chakra Placement Stone with the Oracle of Shadows and Light. And this isn't about either of the choices. It's just some other overarching energy and advice for you from Spirit. So firstly, okay, the Soul Trees talks about the mind. You are very, very intellectual, you're very, very smart. This is very much, you work through your mind. If your mind isn't happy with the decision, it doesn't matter about any of the rest of it. So I think it is saying be aware of that and go with that. But I think it is also saying that your mind can take you in spirals. So I think it's again the feeling that although the overarching energy for this is don't rush into a decision, because you are in your mind, you move quicker than other people anyway. So to give yourself a time frame around it, and I think that is really what we're talking about in terms of maybe around Halloween to be the point. And then what signs might be telling you that you're veering towards the right decision? And we get numbers. Could be something very scientific, very intellectual, very academic about this potentially with all of this. Otherwise, I think, angel numbers and so forth, your lucky number, seeing things about mathematics, that kind of thing, or even doing the numbers, doing the figures. If this is a business decision, then when the numbers look right, when the budget looks right, that may well be the decision about which, that might be part of what helps you make the decision. Like, what do the numbers tell you? What does the budget tell you? What do the projections tell you? So to finish off, I want to use the Astro Chakra cards just to get some astrology and chakra energy just over the whole thing to help you with the decision making. Okay, so firstly I'm going to go to survival. I'm going to go to the first chakra, the root chakra. That's all about the foundations of your life. And you've got Saturn there. And so I think that's picking up this mental clarity, all of that sort of stuff, the discipline. You are a very disciplined person, actually. If anything, you need to lighten up on yourself a bit, I think. But it certainly tells you that you're okay with either decision, I think, because you're so organised. You will make the best out of either of those things. And neither of them, I think, are going to affect your survival as long as you, and your foundations of your life, as long as you retain that discipline that is a natural part of you, it doesn't really matter what the decision is. But that, again, you can make that decision. So then in making the decision, maybe the two things to think about are, what's the creative inspiration around this, the creative energy? What really makes you feel excited about that? What was that aha moment? Because that's Neptune working with your second chakra, working with creativity, creative energy. And you've got then the solar plexus chakra, so self-esteem and so forth, around how you can communicate that. So part of making this decision is, how do you present it to others and to yourself about who you are and what you want to create in the world? And if you feel no is the way for now, I just feel like it's a no that says for now, or whether you go, yes, I'm ready to go all in. I feel like that's the energy around this. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 3, and I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you do know what it is, I'd be really interested to hear about in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 4, to your reading. So we have the Oracle of Shadows and Light card there, and then some tarot to give a sense about what is the issue, what is the area of the life that this question, this decision, this change, this revolution might be occurring, that you need to consider in some detail and not rush into, as the energy of these astrological transits are talking about. So for you, this has something to do with something in the past. It's interesting, another of the readings was about the past returning also. So then some of you may have gone to both readings, and it may be an amalgam of the two. But in this case, it's something in the past that you are musing on or thinking about, and that you now have a decision related to, that I think relates to something that was done to you that was not just. And I think for many of you, with Justice reversed here and with the Emperor reversed, I feel as though it had to do with probably something in career or something that had to do with power. Now, it could have been a relationship where there was a very big power imbalance and where you were not treated appropriately. But I think for many, it may have been a contract that was not kosher on some level. There's something that wasn't right about it. It could be a job where you didn't get the recognition or the credit that you deserve. There's something like that that has occurred to you. And there is an opportunity now, I think, to bring that to the surface and have some sort of resolution for it. You may even, like for some of you, I'm getting there may even be a legal issue that you're dealing with, and you have some options about how to deal with that now. And it's been a long time coming, and the decision is around that. What I definitely say in any of these things, if it's whether it's work or whether it's anything legal, anything like that, do not just rely on a tarot reading. Take what is useful to you from this, but definitely get really professional advice. Because it does look like whatever this is, it's sort of like this is almost what goes around comes around, sort of like energy. It's like the issue has come up again for some reason. It's either because you're about to resolve it, it's been long standing, and there's something where you have some choices about an outcome of it, or it's a similar pattern that's coming up. Now, the good thing is that in either case, with the Queen of Earth there and with the Magician there, and also with the Hermit reversed, you look like you're coming out from behind the shadows. You are far more established and able to deal with something and resourced up in some way to deal with this issue than maybe you were the time before, and you really have your ducks in a row. You have all your information, all your facts and so forth. So if you feel a similar injustice or power struggle is going on, you really have within you the capacity to make the right choice for you and to have a good outcome. And if this is something from the past, it is finally going to be looked at, as I say, in a court of law or in something like that, then you have a lot on your side. So you don't have to rush the decision, and you don't have to feel like or wallow in a sense of victimhood. If you have felt like you were a victim, this is saying you don't have to be going forward. It's not going to reoccur. You have actually learnt what you needed to do, and you have established yourself far more, and you'll be able to go forward. But you'll go forward very wisely, and much more the person who will state your terms rather than just go along with something, and that somebody who maybe was abusing power or abusing legal knowledge or something like that got you to do before. So there's definitely a sense, I think, around this, around contracts, creativity, that kind of thing. It could be around relationship. It's not saying it isn't, but if that's the case, I feel like there was a relationship in the past that broke up badly because of power issues, and you feel like maybe you're about to go into that again, but this is definitely saying you don't have to. So it could be any of those things, but there is a question, no doubt, that you will be considering around this time that has to do with this issue, this recurring sort of pattern in your life. So what I want you to do while I shuffle another deck is think about a question, a yes-no question related to whichever of those things, or something else in that field that I didn't quite hit upon, but that you can see in this sort of energy that I've described. Whatever it is, what your yes-no question is, because we're going to put down some cards for yes and for no. It's not going to tell you whether to do yes or no. It's just going to tell you the things to consider with either choice. Okay. So yes. And no. So this is a new tarot deck that I have called the Lucine Tarot deck. It's very beautiful, and it's based on the sort of transits of the moon, as these symbols down here would suggest, and has gorgeous sort of artistry in it, but it can be a little bit hard on camera to read what the cards are, so I'll tell you what they are. So for yes, we have Transmute, which is a sort of an additional card, which to me is all about transmuting energy, shifting energy. And again, it very much picks up, you are not actually going to repeat the past. If you feel like you're going to, you're not, because you're transmuting the energy of that to be in a much stronger position for yourself. And yes is all, part of the yes is about working out how to transmute that best. Yes, in some way takes you towards transmuting that energy. The Empress reversed and the Emperor reversed. So that's the Emperor reversed twice. So yes has something to do with power issues and where power has maybe been abused before. The No has the Three of Wands, the Hanged Man, and the Ace of Pentacles. Sorry, sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to read it too from a distance. So the issues around yes does allow you to transmute something. If your question is about whether you actually take an issue on, and that might be the case with this, rather than just letting it pass and moving on, if you want to take a battle on, then yes has got something to do with transmuting energy, possibly within this or even from things in the past. It does have to do potentially with both power issues, like regaining your power. And it's interesting because it's the Empress and the Emperor reversed. For some of you, this might have to do with family issues. It might have to do with transmuting an energy around family dynamics. Maybe some of this past energy and where you felt unfairly treated was in your home. Maybe for some of you that, in your family. And so this shift, the yes to this answer is to shift relationships quite literally with your parents. If that doesn't relate, then it's got to do with the male and the female in that broad sort of divine feminine masculine sort of energy, areas of power and influence. If it's in a workplace, it's about transmuting energies. This yes answer is about transmuting energies that has maybe suppressed your own power and your own creativity and abundance. So yes is a cry to the heavens of, I'm going to reclaim that because I understand that that's the fundamental level on which things didn't work out before or I was cheated in some way. So it's got something to do with that. It's got to do with parental energy or authority energy and you transmuting what that was from the past for an outcome. Yes has to do with that. No has to do with maybe compromising on something, I think, and collaborating with others and sacrificing something to do it so that you can maybe bring something that hasn't yet really been born into being. So it could be here, pile 4, that to really work through and transmute this energy from the past, you have to reclaim almost a sense of separateness. Maybe yes is you separating from ties that controlled you before and you're standing on your own and you're standing up for yourself and so forth. No is saying, I don't have to do all of that. I just have to find the right people to connect with, and I can sacrifice some of the past, or I can let it go. I can take a different perspective on it with the hangman, because there's something here that could be born, but I can't do that without other people. So I think that there is almost, I do get a sense for many of you that you maybe worked with others before and you were not fairly treated. And so to stand on your own and to come out of the sort of shadows and to stand as the magician is sort of the yes energy. It's, I'm going to transmute all of that. I'm going to just do it on my own. The no is, maybe that's too much. Maybe that isn't necessary. Maybe I can find the right people to collaborate with. Not everybody is going to be this suppressing energy. And if I look at it differently, I can maybe find a different way of doing it. So I think it's really deciding at the moment whether or not what's coming back up in a pattern is something that is a battle you need to take on head on and on your own, or whether it's something that you can almost let go of, move past and find better connections. And that's what the yes no is about. And again, I'm not telling you which is the best one. They're just the energies that are around it. So let's have a look at what feelings you have around either yes or no. And yes, you have ambition, and around no, you have surprised. Okay, so either is okay, I think, for a start. Yes is you going, I climb as high as I can. This is about you claiming something for yourself. I do think it is a much more solitary and much more, I will run my own business, I will be my own person, I will create my own thing. Really, really allowing yourself to have that ambition, because I suspect that you weren't allowed to, either in your family or in previous workplaces or so forth. So it frees you to transmute into your ambition. That's what yes means. No, you're a bit surprised maybe, but it's not unpleasant. You may be surprised to find that if you go, well, no, I don't have to just separate out or have a really big battle and then, own everything myself. You might be surprised by the fact that not everybody is going to be doing you over. It may be, there's two different ways to heal, this is almost saying. One is to transmute it completely by really stepping out on your own or fighting a legal battle or whatever it might be. The other is to go, I can find the right people for myself now. I don't have to replicate the past on that level. All right, so let's have a look at well-being, because Chiron, as I said in the introduction, is also connected to this. So well-being sort of energy for yes and for no. So we've got treatment there and holistic therapy. Okay, so that's interesting. So this is very much around physical well-being and so forth. I think that would suggest that the yes requires you to think in terms of a treatment program around your health, your emotional well-being and so forth, because there is a lot that you're sorting through. If some of this, for some of you, if it resonated, it's got to do with family dynamics, parental dynamics and so forth, it may literally be suggesting that to go through that change, to do that. The question might even be, do I need to get sort of therapeutic support? And if that's the case, I think the answer would be yes. That would really help in that, getting professional help, professional advice as you go through that. Holistic therapy over here suggests almost a more gentle approach. This feels very exploratory, it's very, I can't think of the right word. It's very, very sort of direct, I guess, a direct sort of energy around health and dealing with something head on. This feels like it's finding a variety of ways, a holistic therapy, a variety of people to work with, a variety of perspectives to give you the outcome that you want, if the answer is no to your question. Let's have a look at spiritual energy as well around it for you. Okay, so Spirit is saying if you're yes, whatever your answer is yes, there is something that you need to forgive. So it may be forgiving energies around parents or authority figures before. That's part of the transmutation. It's that there is something that I think for you that did not go right, you were not treated right, but it's almost like once you really stand in your own strength and yourself and whatever this yes means to you, part of that is forgiving the past so that you really can stand strong, so that you're not still caught in that pattern, so that you don't become like the character on the carousel just going round and round and round on the same thing. If you say no to whatever this is and you take the different approach, there's some opportunities that come to you. Again, it's not saying that either is right or wrong. I think this is just saying no is not closing the door on having a resolution to something. It's just a different way of doing it, and it opens up other opportunities. So let's have a look at the other cards that were under the Chakra Placement Stone. So these are just across the whole energy for the whole time. It's not for yes or no. So firstly, the Soul Tree is saying make a wish. Okay, so that's an interesting piece of advice around a yes, no. Maybe if you make a wish for what you really want from this, that's really going to tell you where you should land on yes or no. Is making a wish taking you towards yes, or is it taking you towards no? That might help you make the decision, because there's a lot of emotion around this, and you really do need to think about what's going to work for you, because something's happened to you that wasn't fair, and so you need to get back that sense of hope and wonder that making a wish does. What will be signs for you that you are getting towards the right decision? Music. Okay, so it may be saying that music is actually something that you can use to sort of tune out, get inspiration from, but I think you're going to be someone who you'll see you'll hear lyrics from a song that absolutely align with whichever direction you're going to, or you'll hear a piece of music that reminds you of the thing, that you can go into that emotion, and that's going to actually help you make the decision. There's going to be very direct ways that spirit communicates with you through music, through lyrics, that sort of thing. So to finish off, let's have a look at the Astro Chakra energy around you as well. Okay, so it doesn't surprise me that there's 2 root chakra energies here, because that is about the foundations of our life. It is about survival, and I do think this is picking up something where you were really rocked to the core and not treated properly. So it doesn't surprise me that that's there. And with the moon and Neptune there, that's like having them conjunct. There's a lot of emotion still associated with this. You're not... Be aware of the fact that there's a lot of, I mean, Neptune and the moon working together ideally can bring the ideal emotional thing into your life, but it can also, with Neptune, kind of, the moon already can have secrets, and that can also have a lack of clarity. So it's very much saying that you need something else to work out what is the real inspiration that's coming to you, so that you move from just security of emotions into something where you can have reward. And I think this is the key to that, which is going to what makes you feel good in yourself. The 3rd chakra, the solar plexus. Who are you in the world? How do you want to present yourself? What makes you feel confident? And what becomes empowering relationships around you, coming from love. So if you go yes, then the forgiveness energy of love helps you really take on your own power and move beyond survival. And if you decide no, and it seems to be more around connecting with others, then again, the love that you connect brings empowering relationships for you. So either way, there is a healing going on through this energy. The Chiron is very, very important. But I do also think the Black Moon Lilith is very important to you too, that you do need to really work out what was the hurt before and what is the best resolution for the hurt. And that helps you make the decision. So I hope that helps, because that is a bit heavy. It is kind of heavy energy, but I think it has a lot of promise for you to come out either way, really, really well. Either way is going to work for you fine, I think, and you're not going to have a recurrence of the past. But it just looks to me like whether you decide to deal with something head on and on your own, or in a little bit more circuitous, holistic way and with others. It seems to me to be the nature of the choice in some way. I hope that resonates for you, and I hope it's helpful. And I hope you enjoyed the reading, even though it was a little bit full on, I have to say. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you care to share, then let me know in the comments what this means to you. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.